Okay, Dayton Service Utility Board meeting will come to order. Roll call. We're all here. I need a motion for approval of the minutes from December 9th, 2019.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 9th, 2019.
Second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Okay, motion passes. I need a motion to approve the utility board meeting minutes from January 15th, 2020.
Make a motion to approve the January 15th, 2020 minutes, utility board minutes.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, I need a motion to okay and move the claims docket from February 10th.
Make a motion to approve and move the claims docket to the town board meeting.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Michelle?
On the adjustment report, all there is apply deposit to final bill.
For treasurer report?
Do you have any information?
I need a motion to approve the adjustment report.
Make a motion to approve the adjustment report.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Sure. Okay, Reed?
Yes. Update on the easements for the Baker Farms project. The church has signed all of the easements. Ron Francis met with them. I just talked to him today. He will have those documents delivered here probably by tomorrow. Okay, so I need a vote to authorize Ron as the town council president to sign on the behalf of the town tonight. And then I have the easement documents for the water on the other side of the road. And those, also I need an approval for Ron to sign as a town council president. And then I'll deliver those to Greg and Marcus to get signatures, property owners, and then Ron and Cindy will sign those as well. So really just need one motion to authorize Ron to sign all of those documents.
I need a motion to okay Ron as the council president to sign on behalf of the board.
No. No. I mean, if you guys, it's up to you, but there's no conflict on the town side.
I make a motion that Ron sign on behalf of town council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Okay. Carries. Reports of council members. Sharon? Ashley? New and old business. Okay. Mark? Thanks for being here on time.
I do my best.
Utility president, Dr. Reed does the old new business.
Okay.
Mark Harlan's report.
Cool. Thank you.
So, I'm gonna back this up just a little bit, so I can see Al there. So we have several items to go over this evening. The first one's somewhat of a repeat, but I did attend the water audit training in Indianapolis on the 27th. I've got the required town water audit completed. It now has to be validated by someone with Indiana Finance Authority. I have until August 1st to get that done to make it official, but we've done everything that we're supposed to do. I'll get that scheduled probably in April to have it validated, and then we'll get sent to the state and we'll have met our obligation for that for this year anyway. The Baker's Farm water main, something that Reed was just referring to. So Vester Engineering has submitted a change order to BF&S concerning moving the water main over to the west side of Dayton Road. And BF&S approved that change order and the specifications on it. There's no action that the town board needs to take. It's just making you aware that the change order was submitted and it was approved by BF&S. Backflow upgrades. There's statewide training going on to address changes to backflow prevention standards. The town of Dayton has 7 businesses that require backflow prevention devices, and we've got a program in place that makes sure those are inspected by a licensed individual each year. But I'll be going to this update tomorrow. They held them at several places around the state, and the closest one I could find was in Colfax, and that's scheduled for tomorrow. So I won't be gone all day, but I'll be gone a good portion of the day to that. I was lucky to find one so close. Under sewer, the lift station at We Engineering. So there is a separate lift station that the town is responsible for at We Engineering. And that pump failed Friday. So FJF, who is our contractor to do maintenance on our lift stations, they were down there today. They don't have the pump that they need on hand, but they have their pumper truck there, and they emptied out the tank so that they could still use the facility. But that pump probably won't get installed until tomorrow, maybe Wednesday at the latest, but they had to order one. So we'll be getting a bill for maintaining that. I knew that we did annual maintenance on it, but I didn't know this is the first time we've had to do an actual repair on it. But Ashley looked into it for me, and that's actually a facility that we are responsible for. Is that the way you remember it too, Ron?
They put it in originally, which was agreement, and we took it over. We
Take care of it. Okay.
Sorry.
Back to the Baker Farm water main. We have 2 copies of that change order, and it shows the location and length and depth and all of that. So if any of you would like to see this, it's back there in my office. Okay. Let's see here. So at the last meeting, we gave preliminary approval to a stormwater project in between over on Main and Dayton Road. But then it was discussed and requested that I get 2 quotes on that instead of awarding it to the 1 quote that I had at the last meeting. The contractor who submitted the original quote, Cocapelli, they just stuck with their original number, and I'd given that to you guys. It was $6,855. Okay. I got a second quote from Heartland Excavating, who's done some stormwater projects for us in the past, so I like to pick contractors I've worked with before. Their bid was $6,875. So they were both, must have been looking at the same numbers. So with that being said, Heartland was $6,875, Cocopelli was $6,855. I'd like to have approval to go ahead and move forward with this project.
I make a motion, we go ahead and move forward with the project.
I second it.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same.
Okay, the radar speed signs out on State Road 38, so we had discussed that, and Scott had, about looking into if there were any state safety funds to pay for the installation of these radar signs, one on each end of town. So I got a hold of Doug Poe at the Area Planning Commission, who is with the Transportation Committee, which I represent Dayton on, and he guided me towards Tim Watson, who is with NDOT and takes care of their safety program. So right now, we're waiting to hear back from him, but at least we've started the conversation, and we'll see where that goes. I offered him two options. I said, one is, are there any funds available? And secondly is, if we decide to pay for it ourselves, what are the required permits and locations that we have to deal with in order to do that? So hopefully I'll have all the information to you, and then you can make a choice on. I think the difference will be if we try to secure a grant on this. It could be quite some time. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a year before, as these things move slowly. If we just need some permits and want to pay for the installation ourselves, it might shorten it down to 3 or 6 months. But we'll know as we move along here, and like I said, I'm just waiting to hear back from him. The next thing is the community crossing bids. So we had that bid opening a couple weeks ago for contract number 1, and I'll get to it in a minute, but first I want to talk about the contract number 2. Contract number 2 was for crack sealing and slurry sealing, or putting a seal coat on Prairie Lane, Conjunction Street, College, Market, and Ricks Drive. So 5 streets. The engineer's estimate for that was $30,455. Because it was under $50,000, we could just solicit quotes and give the contractor 7 days to submit a quote. Quotes were requested from Reith Riley, Milestone, Pavement Solutions, Midwest Paving, and Dixon Construction. Out of those 5, only one submitted a bid, and that was Pavement Solutions. Me and Stan and Ashley, we opened up that bid earlier this evening or late afternoon. That came in at $27,356.45. So we came in under the estimate on it. So the state will pay 75% of that, or $20,517. So just for that contract, for those 5 streets and the crack seal and the slurry seal, the town's out-of-pocket expense will be $6,840 approximately. Okay, so that was contract number 2. Now we'll go to contract number 1, which is where we had the bid opening a while back, and it's a bit more complicated. So within that contract number 1, it was broken down into 2 different areas. One was a project area considered Harrison and Pennsylvania Street, which included sidewalks, milling, driveway approaches, several things. The other part of that project, what we'll call, or contract, so another project within that contract was doing some patchwork on Dayton Road, plus repairing through the curves on Shady Lane, okay? So the patchwork out on Dayton Road and fixing the curves through Shady Lane, it was estimated, the engineer's estimate was $113,000. The bid came in at $70,598 through Midwest Paving, so it came in quite a bit lower.
Excuse me, I think the low bid was somebody other than Midwest Paving, on Shady Lane, Dayton Road.
I don't believe so.
Or maybe I have it switched around with,
Reeve Riley was the other one.
okay, I have them backwards, never mind.
Okay, but Midwest was one of the two? Okay. So, 113 came in at 7,598, which is good, but of course that always worries you whenever the bid is significantly lower, but VS Engineering reviewed the bids and felt comfortable that their numbers were right and their quantities were right. So they're recommending that we accept that bid. On the Harrison and Pennsylvania, the estimate was approximately $82,000. Reeve Riley had the low bid and it was $165,230. So that's where it starts to get interesting. So, so two projects within one contract. So I contacted NDOT and said, hey, can we just do one since it came in favorable and not do the other until a later time? They said no, because both projects were under one contract. Either do it all or you don't do any of it. So here's the arithmetic on it. So originally, the estimate for everything in town was $235,800. And we got from the state that check over there for $169,199. Okay? So, trying not to get confused on this here. So, this is the difference. This is where it gets confusing. So we're happy with contract number 2 that came in at 27 and the estimate was 30. But concerning this other contract, the first contract, it came in, our estimate was $195,000. The total for doing Dayton Road, Shady Lane, Harrison, Pennsylvania came in at $235,800. Okay? So the difference is that although the bid's higher, we still only get the 75% from the original estimate. What that changes is our out-of-pocket cost if we want to move forward with these contracts. At this point, to do all these contracts, we'll have out-of-pocket cost of around $124,000, counting engineering. Whenever you break that down, that means instead of a 75-25 split, we're getting about a 55-45 split. So the bids have come in, that one bid came in significantly higher. So the decision to be made is whether we want to proceed with these projects even though the bids came in high for that one specifically. Now, Michelle, that money comes out of MVH, and Ashley, you check to see if we have enough money in MVH to cover this if we want to move forward with these contracts?
Yeah, the engineering had been approved
Previously.
previously. You know, the original dollar amount that we had intended to spend for our match based off the engineer's estimates was about $55,000. And, you know, we do have that. And, I believe I'm correct in saying, Michelle, we have, you know, more than enough to cover. You know, you said it was 126
But the 124, but that includes the 28 for,
engineering.
yes.
And have we already paid that?
No, you paid 10 of it, but not the remaining 18.
Because we have 100,000 set aside strictly for CCG and infrastructure.
For this calendar year, okay? So we should, financially, we should be able to do this.
Yes. Yes.
The question is if you want to, with the bid coming in so high.
Well, you said the bid came in high because from the time the grant was applied for.
That's in a explanation from the engineering firm. That was the reasoning, that it was due to the time lapsing between the estimate being put together and the contract being, bids being taken, 9 months difference. He cited material costs, labor costs, and some other things. You know, I think what's different about this project is we're doing sidewalks and driveway approaches. The only other one that I've been involved with here in the town, it was strictly paving. You know, so we have a better understanding, at least I do, of milling and paving streets, but whenever you get into concrete work, things of that nature, it changes the scope of it a bit.
But if we were to wait and do it again in the future, probably the same thing would happen?
I don't know. You know, I don't know. You would assume it would. I guess that the positive about waiting in the future is it would be 75% of a larger number. You know, they paid 75% of our estimate of $80,000, not 75% of the bid, which was 165.
If you did in the future, we may have costs to re-engineer because you essentially you're talking about roads deteriorating another year. And some of those roads, you know, wouldn't be that big a deal, but you know, like on Dayton Road, that'd be a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of falling apart.
Right. Well, and what, I mean, isn't there always like a 9-month difference between?
No,
Was that
they just
helpful?
changed that this year where they started doing requests for projects in January and July. So they've changed the rotation up, and if we can get on the right one, it will make better sense to us. This is actually money that we applied for in June of 19.
Positive is, we do have the money, it's not as big as match as we had hoped for, okay, but it is a pretty substantial match.
We used to spend 75 or 80,000 every year when we didn't have any of these matching funds. So
Exactly.
that we have to put forward this. We're just getting a little, but with all this matching money, we're doing pretty good. And we missed
Right.
a year in the past, so I keep moving.
You know,
Number two.
now that I'm understanding my notes better, it looks like we will have, and this is just for construction, we will have out-of-pocket expense of around $96,000 on a $263,000 project.
Whereas before we were kind of planning on, you know, 55,000.
But we have the money.
Yes.
How much longer are these funds going to last? At first they talked about 5 and 10 years.
They're saying that they look for it to be, they keep changing the rules, so they must think it's going to last a while.
Yeah.
Until they decide otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, you never know when you skip a couple of years and all of a sudden they came out and say they're not going to do it.
I think that we have to look at it as it is going to be available, and I think that, to your question, Jen, So let's say that we award the contracts, we would want all this work done before school starts back up, okay? We get that done, we then put together a project list for the January call, so that we get the money, we get the project in January, and we're doing it in the spring of 2020. That way there's not such a lag going on there in between. And there's some other things we can do to try to button down the cost estimate a little bit better, I think. Some information that I can give them, and plus some things we can request to help it move along a little bit better. So, we would need a motion to approve contract 1 and contract 2.
Make a motion that we approve contract 1 and contract 2.
Second.
Really contracts, but let's take that on.
Contract 1 is with Reeve Riley Construction and Midwest Paving. Contract 2 is with Pavement Solutions.
Make a motion that we approve contract 1 with Reeve Riley and Midwest Paving, and contract 2 with Pavement Solutions.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say. Okay, motion carries.
So do you understand all those numbers? Okay, as long as you do. The last item I have is this Walsall Group McCoy development. So that's the 28 or 30 acres out there on Hind Drive. They've started inquiring about, they had me go out and locate the utilities. They sent a check to the town for a development guide, and that was, the PDF of that development guide was sent to them this evening. So I think we can look for movement on that project out there. If anybody has any questions about it, or ask you questions about it, just send them my way and I'll answer what I can. So back to the community crossing contract. So time is important. We have to get these contracts signed by us. I'll have to see if they need another signature from the contractors. We have to get all this folded up and sent into the state by February 23rd. So I would like to have it sent in by the 17th, so if they get back to me and they say, hey, you forgot to sign this, I've got a couple of days there to get it touched up. So I'll be getting a hold of different people this week, trying to make sure we've got all the signatures in place and we're good to go. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under old new business, I bring this up to utilities because part of it would be paid with the utilities departments. Okay. Town's mower is quite old. It was purchased somewhere back in the 99, 98 time period. Talking to Mark, an hour meter to put on it. Talking to Mark, we use that mower somewhere around 200, 250 hours per year. It's been well maintained and it's been trouble-free for us. But I do believe it's kind of getting long in the tooth, and it is time to take a look at replacing that. I have not looked for the mower prices, but I suspect that it's going to be somewhere in a $10,000 to $20,000 purchase, and I would expect that our old mower, we could take bids on, sell outright, and get a little bit of money back out of it. So that means something like that for backup mowers or something along those lines. So I guess I'd request the board permission to start getting quotes on the new mower. And I'd work with Mark on this to get the machine that best fits his needs. I don't know.
Make a motion that you check on getting a new mower, all the costs, and okay it later.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. How much do you think we'll get out of them?
I don't know, I would think it'd be, something we take still bids on.
Something's better than nothing. I've heard people run them.
Trade-in value on mowers is non-existent, so
What make is that?
it's a Skag turf tire.
Good mower.
Yeah, it's just,
Costs a lot, really.
well, yeah, it was, but,
That gets
we
it.
need reliability, not that one's not being moved. We've had hiccups with it, we had to replace some caster wheels on it 2 years ago. We've had some other problems in the past, but I think it's prudent to update things every once in a while.
You
Shouldn't probably get close to end of life.
Yes, the water cooled Kawasaki,
But it's,
it does.
should, should you keep it for just, that crummy area up in McAllister, hacking all that down, or less nasty stuff, you could
Well,
just
suppose you could, yeah.
keep it up there and just,
We take bids and then decide not to accept any bids.
Good.
but sometimes they take a brand new mower out there, and jump here and lead to all the hell, so.
Yeah, I think, you can buy mowers a little bit bigger than that one, and of course, that would be a cost savings to, for our labor costs. If you have a bigger mower, you can mow more quicker, so.
Comments from the residents
Utilities.
on utilities.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
She-
sorry.
Sue's
She
good.
makes me good.
Sue Kiger, 750 Shady Lane. I would like to suggest that we really do not need 2 people videoing our meetings. We've had a volunteer doing it for several years at no charge. We could save the money by not paying someone to duplicate this. We could use these savings for our utility clerk for her office hours. Thanks.
Well, my comment on that is this is a public meeting, and we could have 10 people in here recording, and also the person that has volunteered to do the recording is not associated with the town, so therefore her videos have no liability attached to us, as the part of the issue where Shannon James is threatening to sue both said person or the town for allowing that video to be published. That's why we made it clear that we are not affiliated with the watchdog, so therefore my employee videos recorded for our liability of the town. But we cannot stop anybody from recording. Every single person in here can record if they please.
Is it something you could set that tripod and just turn it on at the beginning of the meeting, so we don't have to pay?
You're not paying her any extra than what she already gets paid. She's not gonna work her hours. We make it work, we have.
Motion to table.
Second.
It's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Town board meeting come to order. Roll call, everybody's here. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the town board minutes for December the 9th, 2019. Motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 9th, 2019.
Second. I'll second it. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of December 9th, 2019. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Need a motion to approve the work session minutes of December the 16th, 2019.
I make motion to approve the work session minutes from December 16, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the work session minutes of December 16th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Need a motion to approve the town board minutes of December the 30th, 2019.
Make a motion to approve the December 3rd, 2019 minutes.
Need a second?
The second amendment for December.
Got a motion and a second for December the 30th minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The three town board minutes for January 2nd, January 8th, and January 15th, I'd like to take them under advisement and okay them at the next meeting. Because there's a lot on there that I think needs to be changed. Do we need a motion for that? Okay. We'll
What
take
needs to
that.
be changed, that's the facts from the meetings.
We'll look at them and we'll bring it up at the next meeting and change them. I guarantee you there'll be changes.
So you want to change public documents from the videos?
What I'd like to do is put all the information in that you did not put in, Michelle, so.
Oh, so 4 pages aren't enough already?
Okay,
Yeah.
we got the approval of the claims. We need the claims for $226,000, $888. Need a motion to approve that.
Make a motion to approve the claims for that.
Need a second?
Well, you have to approve them to pay them, right?
But you can, if there's one questionable, we can lay that aside and prove everything else, if you do have a question.
Well, some of them that I didn't see were like, well, first of all, am I just supposed to check the invoices and say, it says this number, and this is the number on here, and it matches, and I approve it? Or do I need to see,
Like
Like
Duke
what it's
Energy,
for.
we have like 6 Duke Energy bills, so I'm not gonna do 6 separate checks, so they're all combined, but they're all stapled
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that check.
no, yeah, I mean, like, so for mine, my check, it was for 352 miles to and from training. So would people just have, would the board just need to see that I was wrote a check for $250.16? Or do they need to double check what I turned in
If
with,
it-
with how many miles it is to Indy?
Last time I had a question, I asked Michelle, and she told me the differences on it. Normally, if you have a question, you just check it ahead of time.
And I even
So
sent you
we-
the check stubs that show.
Are those all, on those travels, do they have, is it all mileage, or do they have something,
No,
like the
on-
parking garage in there?
Yeah, and it's attached to her receipts
Yeah.
for, and same as mine, so it says, it's line item on there.
Okay, so that's for us to check too, like,
Yeah.
Any of the
not
invoices.
just the, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And like those engineers for $28,000, if you wanna look at them, see what they spent, what they did, you just check it. And agree with it, then.
what Mark's travel was,
Mark had his
Training
travel
and
in
garage.
his
What's-
parking garage
did
too.
Tammy have training? What's Tammy's training? Or-
Tammy has her travel to and from the bank, her bank drops. So she does hers normally either half a month at a time or a full month at a time. But she has to be
Her
paid.
miles?
Yeah,
Monday.
it's all in there, all of her,
I
every
didn't
single
look
one.
her up.
Any questions on
That's why I offered for you to come into the office last month so we could sit down and I could go through them with you, especially the bank reconciliations, because when I did those, you asked for the receipts and the APVs, because they're all in the same thing. And that's something that I cannot scan. That's why I asked you to come in so we could sit down and I could show you how it's all done, so it's not confusing when you do go to look at them and try and match them up.
Well, I get matching these up. I just didn't get through them all before the meeting.
Well, hopefully next month we can
Yeah.
get them sooner and go over and have
Yep.
them.
They were available since Friday.
What?
They're always available. I've always told you guys can come into my office and see them at any time. Or come out here and sit and take pictures of them. For public record, anybody can come and look at them.
All right, any motion on the floor, need a second?
You okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, the last one, it's really fast.
Okay, is that a second?
Yeah.
Take your time.
And I think everything else.
That, I got a question, that Yasmin and Stump Law Firm,
I sent you guys the
there,
invoices.
let me finish the question, please. There's two of them there, through 3,600 and 1,215. Do you happen to notice what total that brings it up for right now? There was another one a month ago, wasn't
I
there?
think the other one was, it was either 3,000 or 2,600 or something. You guys approved it, or,
Yeah,
no, I think it was approved at the end of year.
we proved up to 10,000, I just didn't know that, this is for the ones that are suing the church, so. But
Reed
they haven't got,
said
they
that-
haven't got up to the 10,000 yet.
I thought you said last month that you told them not to send, or that there shouldn't be any more work. So from my understanding, those should be the end of the invoices, because that was November and December work. So they shouldn't have any more for, I believe it was for November and December.
So it'd be about 5,000 here, and then the other's 3, so about 8,000, so we need to finish it all, so.
My understanding is, the board did not sue the church, that we merely hired legal representation to negotiate with the church.
Yeah, I don't think there was.
Whatever you want to call it, that they were going to end up taking the church to court, but the result is we saved a couple $1,000 that Greg Malacus ends up having to pay, right? So he'll only have to pay 8 instead of the 10.
Correct.
So you ought to thank us for saving a couple $1,000. The drinking fountain, I asked Ashley before. The tree, Mark, the tree removal of 850, is that the one on Shady Lane?
Yes.
I thought it was that they were gonna cut it, leave all the stumps, and they would knock off $200. Is that with the 200? Oh, no, is this the new one they did on Shady
Yes,
Lane?
yeah.
Okay,
That other one's already been done
that's
and
all right,
paid for.
okay. You got any more questions? Okay, need a second? Seconded?
Did that make the first motion?
You made the motion. Need a second?
Second, I will.
I'll second it. We got a motion, second, to approve the claims docket of February 10th, 2020 for $226,888.55. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion passed. The fund report, need a motion and a second. Okay, the fund report of 1/31/2020.
Make a motion to approve the fund report.
I'll second the fund report.
Got a motion and a second to okay the fund report of 1/31/2020. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, motion passed. Need a motion and a second for allowance docket of 1/1/20 to 1/31/20.
I had a couple questions on the allowance docket. For Matthew Devine, he didn't get a clothing allowance?
It's because he's new.
Okay. Did the clothing allowance with Robert Luke get fixed? Is that all?
It's still being taken out.
Okay. Do the employee numbers matter?
No,
Okay,
they're whatever I make them.
okay, because some of them are the same and I didn't know if that would mess it down.
It's because of how it's broken down, of what sections they get paid out of.
Okay, just making sure.
Need a motion and a second, please.
Make a motion for the allowance docket.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for allowance docket of, or for the, who's the allowance? Yeah, allowance docket of 1/1/20 to 1/31/20. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Need a motion and a second for approval of the revenue report 1/31/20.
Make a motion to approve the revenue report.
Make a motion to second it.
Got a motion and a second to approve the revenue report of 1/31/20. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carried. Clerk treasurer report.
So heading back to the whole, subject of me hiring an attorney that we discussed last month, that you guys said that you needed 30 days. This is my attorney right here, Mitchell Ray. I have contracted with him. We agreed on a yearly not to exceed $12,000. And he has sent 2 correspondents to read, plus he has spoke to read on the phone. And so he is here tonight to make sure that that money gets allocated for me to help pay for his services.
Is there a way for us to know what you're asking him or what you guys are talking about is actually to do with your job duties?
It's no different than you talking to Reed. The state statute says that I can do.
But I mean, on Reed's, we see like email with Ron about whatever, phone call.
You guys see that.
Right,
Yeah, that will
Will
be
we
different.
see that?
That would only be if Michelle wanted to share that. So she has the right to decide what attorney she wants to hire. And then those invoices would be considered attorney-client communications. So if she wants to keep those to herself, you would not know what type of work is being done. The main, I think, question that I have that I don't think is a clear legal answer is if the council has the ability to determine the amount of the budget, the amount of appropriation. Basically what I've understood is that Michelle's position is that it's really, there's no limit, there's no oversight whatsoever. So you extend that argument all the way out, I'm not saying that this is being asked, but it could be a very high number. And as long as there's a request made, then all the town council does is approve it. I'm not seeing any law that answers that question where I could say, yeah, like, that's what the law says. Like if there's a request for $500,000 of appropriation, the law clearly says as a town council you have to approve it. There's just no ability to be involved at all. I think that what we're really looking at though is, I think the law's clear. Michelle's entitled to hire an attorney. I'm all for that. It would be helpful for me. There's some things that I just can't advise on. And what we're really looking at is, appropriations kind of budgeting, like that's what happens first. We don't know how much, this is a completely new thing, and we don't know how much that expense will be. It's certainly, I think it's a different question if the service has already been performed and they're asking for payment. I think it is gonna be hard to, at any point to, not pay those bills. And they potentially could, take us to court, if that was the case. But right now, what's in front of you is how much is going to be appropriated. And really, I think that means we need to appropriate a reasonable amount based on the year, which we don't know. But that's kind of where things stand. The statute doesn't, expressly state that the clerk treasurer gets to determine the amount of the appropriation. It doesn't expressly state that the town council gets to determine that amount either. I've done some research into the case law to see if there's been this exact same type of situation that's come up in like clear liens, or I haven't found anything. I asked Mitchell if he had seen anything either. Both of us are really just looking at the statute and trying to interpret that. That's kind of where things stand from my end. But I would also say that I don't know that it's really worth fighting over at this point, and I want to disapprove 12,000 just to avoid.
Do we have to do a whole year?
Yes. The statute specifically says that this really needs to be done every year in the annual budget. We're kind of, and I think that in the past it's always just been zero. But what it says is that this money shall be appropriated in the annual budget.
And if it wasn't, we have to change it?
That's their position, is that if it was not appropriated, or if you appropriated a certain amount and it was expended, then what they're saying is they can just come back to you and make an additional request. And their position is that they have to, that you don't have any discretion.
So if something is resolved through the attorneys, then that would be the end of it. It's not going to continue for years.
Just because I hired him doesn't mean that I'm gonna get a bill from him every month. That's my discretion of what I feel like I need to ask him or consult with him about. And that would be our concern, like you guys are gonna sit here and talk to me about what you're gonna talk to Reed about.
But whatever the issue with your office,
I think there's more than one issue. But again, that's between Mitchell and I.
so we do. I mean, there's going to be a point of terminus of this.
I guess that all depends on how everybody acts towards each other.
Can the attorney answer this?
As far as our general representation goes, if she asked me to look into a matter, research, or perform a certain action, then I would do that. And I would just kind of be, so like a typical attorney, just on call for when she needs issues. So if she doesn't have any issues in March, then I will bill her anything. Because other things going on, whether it's staffing or invoices or whatever, issues come up in the clerk treasurer's office, and that's
So we'll work through these things and she'll have her services for your, to do. Hopefully we'll get that resolved. Within that time.
Also, the whole thing with the budget, our issue here is that we do not budget utilities. So there is no, like how we pay Reed out of general water, wastewater, we don't budget utilities. So there is no annual budget. We already have an appropriated line for professional and legal services. So now it just falls into the state statute that it needs to technically be approved or appropriated, but there is no budget for utilities.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we need to research and look into. I mean, that's just something that's always, it's been done that way. I mean, we have a financial advisor that, is now representing Michelle. I do think that if my fees go over the amount in the salary ordinance, we need to amend the salary ordinance, even if there are, there's this unbudgeted amount of utilities that can be paid for it. But I do think we need to look at that and just make sure that we don't need, that we couldn't make any improvements through this process in our annual budget. But it just seems to me that all of our money should be appropriated, and we just have, always done it that utilities are not appropriated. They're just kind of an unbudgeted thing, to my understanding. So I think that that's probably something that we could, Mitchell and I can look into in addition with people that are more involved on the budget and the financial advisors, so that we make sure that we're doing what's ever best, and that the new council understands that as well.
Well, I understand that, anybody want to speak here? I understand that, I think you do have a right to have an attorney. The state's so screwed up that you can do anything practically. But I think it's to be used for things like how to get your job done and stuff, and I hope that heck it's not used at town expense to decide I want to move those pictures or that table or fight and this kind of stuff. I hope you have enough sense not to do that and just waste the money. I've talked to several people. I talked to the state today, and they think that, the person I talked to thinks 12,000 is quite a bit. There is a limit. You can limit it because it could bankrupt your town just by the whim of somebody that had some animosity or hatred toward the people that got elected in. So, some people, a lot of suggestions from other town clerks and people I've dealt with over the last 12 years have mentioned from a couple $100 to $500 to whatever, but I didn't realize you had to do it for a whole year. And most people I talk to say you don't. You start with a figure, $1,000, $2,000, or $500 or whatever, and you use that up, and then you have another meeting and you okay some more. I would think I would rather make a motion for so much money and see how this works. Because if it comes out that we just feel like, it's just $1,000, if we all get along, it's $1,000 a month, I don't know what all that's happening here. I don't trust a lot of people, so.
I guess what I'm saying is, it says potentially that, if the 12,000 wasn't approved, that they might pursue all legal remedies.
That's okay, let them pursue.
But what I'm saying is to be, I agree that, it's gonna be hard to convince a judge that it's unlimited, that it's just absolutely unlimited. But what I think is, you at least need to have a defensible position that we have as a town council looked at this. This is completely new, it's always been zero before. And this is what we are allocating for the year. We might be wrong, it might get, we might be 3 months in and we're through our amount. I'm not saying that you can only do it once in a year, but it is an appropriation that's supposed to be done in the annual budget. So I think that you should at least, look at what you think reasonably, this cost will be for the town for a year. And, that's what should be your guide. And if they're gonna go to, if you're gonna approve an attorney and you're gonna give them a certain amount of budget and they're gonna go to court before, this is even at the point that it matters, then I think there's a lot less risk, and I hope that will happen. But, instead of saying like, what do we think is gonna be a monthly amount, then I think there might be a little more risk. But, I really hope that
Well, it
it
sounds
doesn't lead to court. I mean, that's what.
It sounds like one month it might not be anything, the next month, so
Right, and I
Can
think
we,
that you
can
can
we
look at
add-
that.
can we allocate like $1,000 and see how far that goes?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
completely up to your discretion.
I mean, that seems like something, I don't know, if you guys think that's low or high or what,
It
but it
was
seems
like-
like we ought to pick something instead of
Yeah,
just saying
and
12,000.
just for everybody's reference, in our town ordinance book, under the 32.004 deputies and employees, it states under C, the clerk treasurer may hire and contract with competent attorneys or legal research assistants on the terms of the clerk treasurer considers appropriate. 2, appropriations for the salaries of attorneys and legal research assistants employed under this division shall be approved in the annual budget and must be allocated to the clerk treasurer for the payment of the attorneys and legal research assistant salaries.
Yeah, that says that, you know, Michelle gets to determine who the firm is, she gets to hire them. You guys have to appropriate an amount. The unopened question that's not in the state statute, you know, that doesn't help any. That's the exact same thing that, you know, Mitchell cited in his letter that's in the state statute. You know, the unanswered question that, you know, is a gray area is, does that really mean that there's no discretion, you know, that does shall appropriate mean shall appropriate any amount the clerk treasurer requests? Or is it no, the other way, that the board says, this is how much we appropriate, and then after that, the board's out of it. You know, you get your certain amount, and then Michelle goes and she hires an attorney, and she hires the rate, and she uses her money, and then she has to, you know, do that. Those are the two options, and I'm not saying, you know, one is right or one is the other. Obviously, you know, they're advocating for the position that they are, and, you know, this is all the information that I can give to you. So, again, I do think it's necessary, you know, and also, you know, attorneys typically don't bill for things that are not needed, and, you know, I think that that's part of it as well. But I think, you know, you guys just need to make a decision, and if you go too low, there's some risks. And, you know, as long as it's reasonable.
If you go too low, you can always add on more later.
Yes, right. We allocate a certain amount and then we
Correct.
pay out all that.
This is all new. I would have never, in my outward experience in India, this is something totally new. Coming out of nowhere. So, like now we're having, like you said, we got some parameters we need to discuss and set.
Yeah, there's no
Pass.
historical data to look at on, you know, how to estimate what the fees would be. It's always been zero because, I mean, the firm that worked for the town for, you know, 20 years before this, typically just gave legal advice to everyone.
You gave it to everyone, and everybody accepted basically that legal advice, and if anybody needed extra legal advice, they didn't screw the town over and take it, they got their own lawyer to do that, is what happened. But the state lets you, it's legal money to have your clerk go after a town and fight on every little thing that comes along, so I don't believe in that kind of money, but apparently you gotta okay that kind of money.
All right, I make a motion to approve $600 for Mitchell Ray.
So you're gonna approve 3 hours?
I second it.
And we can always add more.
We got a motion and a second on the floor to approve, what's your name?
Mitchell Ray.
Oh, Mitchell
Taylor
Ray.
Chapman.
Do what?
Taylor Chapman as a firm member.
Okay. We okay them for, to start with that, for legal stuff for Michelle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Start with that, see how it goes. Okay, Michelle, the town insurance.
So I wanted to make everybody aware, since the whole discussion regarding about putting the insurance out for bid. So our current insurance company, Astra Insurance, has denied to renew us. They have already sent the letter saying, to let us know that they will not be renewing us. According to Ron, it's because of political climate, but I think that's the terms of our town is so subjected to getting sued, and the threat of being sued.
You just hired a lawyer to sue us, so that's one of them, yes.
No, I didn't threaten this, well, whatever.
We did have several lawsuits in the past.
Yeah, one of them was suing the church, so it's both sides of the fence. One was 4,000, one was 2,000, and one's 10,000.
Anyways,
We didn't sue the church.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
We sure did.
if you sue somebody, you ask for money, you don't pay them money.
Yeah, we took them to court to sue.
But also, so after a phone call from our president, our agency has also opted not to bid when insurance bids do get put out. So we are gonna be losing Henriette Group, even considering to be able to bid to be our agency. Also, I have talked to NBAH, and I need to put on the record that NBAH confirmed that they were our insurance company from April of 2012 to April of 2018. So the date was wrong. That was in the letter that was read aloud last year. And they also have absolutely no record that there was ever put out for bids during that 6 years that they insured us. Also, it needs to be made publicly known that NBAH also insures Kohler Brothers Nursery. So that could potentially be a conflict of interest when putting out bids,
How?
because it's the
It's not.
president's nursery.
I
or
do business with Ford down there, so that means
He's
we
not
can't buy
that
a
would be
car.
if he's an owner of NBH and has a chance to profit from it.
That's why Lena canceled them
Buy it.
before.
She
I'm
didn't
putting on
cancel
the
them
record.
because she canceled them because she wanted everything that I did gone, so.
And that's why they have no record of you ever putting out for bids in the 6 years that you claimed you did it.
They didn't have to because I put it out for bid, and one of them was Henriette, and they didn't want to bid on it, because I think the
No.
people that bid on it.
Bob
they
said that they've never had a chance, along with other insurance
Well,
companies that he has talked
He's
to.
lying because I put it out for
I
bid.
know, everybody's a liar.
And I asked the board,
Anyways,
I
I'm not
asked,
gonna argue.
I asked the board if, well, you can't sit there and tell some lies. I talked to the
I'm
guy.
not telling a lie, I talked to Carol at
I
NBAH.
talked to Brian.
You can call her,
I talked to Brian a week ago.
Bob.
Bob Bryant, right? Bob Bryant? So when I say talk to Bryant, that's okay too. When I talked to him a week ago, he said to me, I said, all we want to do is put it back out for bids, and I need the, they called the, whatever, the thing that everybody bids on. He said, okay. He said, by the way, at the end of that conversation, he said, you guys will be getting a letter, it's already, your clerk might have it, that Astro doesn't want to insure it because of the lawsuits and the political climate out there. And I said, that's fine. And at that time, I asked him if he would bid it. And if you look at my emails, I've asked him 2 or 3 more times if he'd bid it. But, you know, he doesn't even have the courtesy to say yes or no.
Well, when you don't
So-
value their service and what they do.
Oh, I valued it, I just, we're putting it out for bid. So, when we
Well,
bid the leaf insurance thing for 2 times, we don't value the other people then, right?
Well, as a lot of people that I've talked to, insurance bids are not like leaf and trash. bids.
Okay, anybody, I asked Ashley a couple times, is anybody, we're gonna put it out for bid? I've got the bid sheet.
Well, you can talk about that during new and old business, I'm just reporting my stuff at the moment. I'm just reporting that they're not gonna no longer insure us. So then the other thing is Reed had sent everybody the email, I think last week or something, with his 2 invoices. So obviously I was not able to do the check to get those on the claim docket. So he sent the invoice that I need approved to pay for his first quarter annual rate of $3,125. So I need the board to make a motion to approve that so I can pay it. And then also, we got another invoice for the redevelopment commission in the amount of $669.32 that he also sent to you guys, I think it was last week or the week before something, to approve both of those invoices so that I can get those paid.
The motion to approve the redevelopment bid for Reed and the regular town bid, or hours from Reed, both of them, for the total amounts that
And that
Shall.
shows I'll second it.
got a motion and a second to pay Reed for the two bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passed.
And I think that's it.
Okay, town attorney, Reed.
I just want to give you an update on where we are with the Dayton Redevelopment Commission. So we have the public hearing scheduled for February 26th, and we have completed the legal publication notice for that. And then I gave all of the town council members a copy today of the tax impact statement that was prepared by Baker Tilly. So really that is just a courtesy copy. That is a document that's going to be sent out on behalf of the Dayton Redevelopment Commission. And you will receive that as one of the taxing districts. But if you guys have any, questions on that report, any comments in general on the TIPS district, just let us know, because that, we're really close to the end. The public comment period is where the confirmatory resolution can be adopted by the redevelopment commission, and then we'll just come back in front of you for final approval.
So when's the next meeting? Here at town hall. When's the next?
It is
meeting?
at Town Hall on February 26th. So it's a Dayton Redevelopment Commission meeting. We are just conducting the public hearing at the meeting.
And you'll get any of the new people the information?
Yep, I sent that to all of the new people. One did bounce back, Steve Shuley. You get
Okay.
a good email for him.
I'll
But yeah,
send you the one that I used.
I notified the two other people, introduced them through email to the three new people. So we're kind of moving all on there. And now I'll be able to help, in addition to Ron and Ashley, with Baker Tilly on annexation.
Anything else?
Nope,
Okay.
I think that covers it.
And those other
The
papers?
door, I'll go through these papers with you that have been approved. And yeah, the other item was covered earlier, but Ron Francis will bring the documents to Michelle tomorrow, and then we'll just need to get signatures. But the church has signed those, so they're just signing on behalf of the town.
Right, I was there, yeah.
Yeah.
Do I need to get a hold of him to confirm and make sure time he's coming in? Just so I make that on here.
You could, yeah. I just talked to him.
Does he plan on coming in the morning, so I'll be here in the morning?
I can give you his contact info if you don't have it. He didn't say. I don't know if he's actually dropping them off or
just
mailing them.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Reed, you want me to check in on that? I'm calling with BFNS, I can contact Ron if you want me to.
Sure.
Or give Michelle this contact
Yeah,
information.
please.
Yeah.
Whatever's easiest for you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
but I can shoot him an email tonight.
Yep.
Marshall Taylor, police report.
Good evening. Activity for January. A little bit of an increase over past months. Normally see that in January, but due to the milder weather, I think a lot more people were out. We're able to conduct a lot more traffic than we normally do. Any questions in particular on January? So, I have two equipment requests. Across the nation, there is a trend among law enforcement agencies to start carrying tourniquets on law enforcement officers' duty belts. We're seeing with a lot of the active shooters that we've been involved in across the nation, a need to have those readily available, not only for immediate use for injuries amongst police officers, but also responding and taking care of injuries on victims. And there's been a lot of studies that have shown that it is effective to be able to apply them as soon as possible. I recently attended a trauma course last month, and that was one of the things that was stressed. Even though a lot of us carry them in first aid kits in our squads, you're not typically going to be near your squad when it's needed. So there's a big push on carrying that on each officer's person. The cost is approximately $60 for the tourniquet and carrier. So that amount to equip all the officers would be about $580. So that was the first request that I had. The second, any questions on tourniquets or what I'm talking about or the need? That's basically to stop blood flow for a major trauma.
So you have one in your carriage, but these are the guys that carry while they're out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be. Just about all law enforcement in our county are carrying them. We would just be adding that to our equipment list also. The second request I had, a couple of years ago, it was 2016, 2017, there was a recall on the red dot sighting system on our patrol rifles. And due to that recall, we got a full refund at that time for the 2 optics that were on our patrol rifles that are in each of our squad cars. That amount was about $900. At that time, I didn't ask for a replacement for those optics. I wanted to, one, assess to see if there was a need for them and make sure that we got a quality optic that we wouldn't have those problems with. After going 2 years now without optics, I can see that there's definitely a need and a benefit to having those mounted on our patrol rifles. It's just a much easier sighting system in all lighting conditions and different different eyesight capabilities of officers. It just makes it much more uniform for everyone to use. As I said, back in 2016, we got a refund of about $900 at that time. To replace 2 of those, one on each of the rifles, would be about $425 a piece, for a total of $850. Do you understand what I'm talking about, a rifle optic sighting system? So what I'm asking for is a total amount of $1,500 if you approve both of those requests. I put out a sample motion for your review there if you would like to approve it.
Make a motion, we approve both of his requests for the tourniquets and rifle sights.
Second.
Motion made and second for spending $1,500 for the sights and tourniquets. All in favor say aye, or yes?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion passed.
Thank you. The last thing I had, our animal control ordinance, we have adopted the county animal control ordinance by name. We did that back in 1993, I think it was, somewhere around there. The county has changed their animal control ordinance. So as it stands right now, the animal control officer for the county can't come in and enforce their county ordinance or our town ordinance because it's changed. So I've talked to the county attorney, and he's going to be sending me the copy and the ordinance number for the new ordinance, and I'll be sending that to our attorney, Mr. Murthoff, to review, and hopefully by next meeting we'll be able to present you with amendment to our ordinance, adopting theirs, so that we can continue to have that benefit. And the benefit to that, having them being able to assist us, is they got a full-time animal control officer, and they have, they always have contracted with a location to take animals that, loose dogs, stray dogs, wild dogs, whatever, or cats, as the case may be. And so we don't have to have that cost to do that, so it saves us money to adopt that. We still, as officers for Dayton, are part of that ordinance, and we can take actions, issue fines, warnings, or take animals to their clinic also. But it just saves us the time. Currently, it's clear up on near the North Carolina County line, so they're really, we work well with their ACO, and he can come to Dayton, pick up an animal and take care of it, and we don't have to drive it up there. So just an FYI, that is happening in the background, and when we get that ordinance amended, we'll present that hopefully next meeting. That's all I have. Any questions from me?
Good, thank you. Good, miscellaneous new and old business, according to CCG bid.
Already bid that.
Yeah. Car property rezoning, I don't know who put this on there, but car property rezoning.
Mr. President, I'd like to see the town board sign off on a letter to be read at an APC meeting, preferably by yourself. I think it's serve Dayton's best interest for us to push back against that property being zoned to I3, and I feel like the council members would support the reading of the letter and email of that letter.
Yeah. Need a motion, right up that way.
Yes.
I'd make a motion to bring that letter.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to write that letter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried.
You know when that's up for?
February
19th.
19.
February 19th.
Down at area plan.
Yeah, area.
So we need the letter. All right, employee handbook.
Okay. So our employee handbook has not been updated for quite some time, as far as we can tell. So, I contacted the people that I guess have done it before, HR Unlimited Resources. And then I tried contacting another company to see how much it would cost for them, but they don't do it. So that was useless. But then I have another quote from somebody in southern Indiana. They're very different. They have about the same stipulations, I guess, the same services. Susie Bass was $6,500 for the completed employee personnel and policy handbook project. We'd have to pay them the mileage from their home office, which was in, I thought Kentucky, but this says Westfield.
It's in Kentucky.
I
And
don't know
who
what this
is that?
Susie
HR?
Bass.
HR Resources.
HR Unlimited Resources, yeah. And then overnight hotel charges. And they'll provide one electronic copy. So that was that one, and then this is Strategic HR Solutions, and this was $23 88. I believe that included travel, didn't it? I didn't print the other one. Yeah. So, big difference, but pretty much offering the same thing.
Do we have deficiencies in the handbook?
Well, not, it hasn't been updated since I think you guys
Yeah, it's not
made
been, it's
changes, but
not been that long ago, I guess.
And we talked, at the end of last year, we talked that we need to get that handbook updated and everything. We haven't done it yet, so.
Employment laws have changed drastically.
And it
It's
goes-
hard to keep up with, and there's,
yeah.
need to do that.
And Michelle is gonna do that.
So does a person actually have to travel to Dayton, Indiana to update that handbook?
I think just talk to us. They both put it on there, so I assume yes. But
Oh,
maybe not.
a lot in the past you could do through email and stuff. They'd come up here and talk to you first.
Maybe it would be
introduce themselves.
easier to talk.
But
I've never done it.
My company, we have conference calls almost daily.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
But
I understand.
HR Unlimited, they've done our work for a long time, but we've never really, we should have probably got some estimates again, you know. I think you met these people or something.
This person I met when I went to the conference in Indy.
We need to get it done.
And then did everybody see my email regarding Tammy? Did you read that as well? The one that I sent out yesterday?
Does it have to do with this?
The handbook, yeah, because like about how the board originally voted to give Tammy vacation time and sick time and all of that. My attorney let me know that Tammy is not a town employee, she is an appointed person of the clerk treasurer's office. So all of the stuff that was voted on regarding sick and vacation time is null and void with her because she does not follow the handbook. She's not pertinent to those benefits. Health insurance stipend, as we addressed in the email, is a different subject because that's a compensation. So everything that we had discussed regarding Tammy is null and void. So the clerk, or the utility clerk, she's not entitled to anything that's in the employee handbook as far as benefits or any of the requirements. Did you see the email that I sent?
No, I was out of town with you.
Oh, sorry. Apologize.
I didn't get it till 1 in the morning.
Okay, yeah, so when you guys look at the handbook, you don't have to worry about Tammy because, since she's an appointed person, she's not considered part-time, she's not considered full-time. Again, the board just sets the amount that she's allowed to be paid, or the fund, as I explained in the email. So, you guys can choose to give her the healthcare stipend if you wish, as like how I'm an elected official and you can choose to give the clerk treasurer a healthcare stipend, but I don't get sick time, vacation time, flex time, or any of that stuff. So all of that's off the table, you guys don't even, so when you do talk about part-time people, when you address that, she won't be, or anybody who's in that position, won't be subject to those benefits. So that was news, I talked to Ashley about it last night, and I think it was a shock to him, I think it's a shock to everybody, but I don't think this stuff has ever been really looked into, but it was confirmed that.
Okay, you can look into that, or these manuals and stuff.
It says the.
Well, you said, I mean, she is an appointed employee of your office.
Of the clerk treasurer, not the
But
town.
she's, yeah, I mean, the law says she's not an employee of the town.
Right.
Still is an employee, so voluntarily, she could be included in those
If they
benefits.
chose to, but there's no
Right.
legal obligation.
I think that's what's been done in the past.
Right, but, well, yeah, I mean, it was never for the part-time, but it was voted on last year, but just so you know, there is absolutely no legal obligation, no matter what hours she works, to give her those.
Is the employee handbook, the changes that they all voted on a few months ago, are those active? Or are those all null and void because it was never?
I don't believe we've ever
Adopted.
reprinted anything
Or even voted to
for you
amend
guys.
it or-
Yeah, I don't think that we got a revised version of it to actually approve, so.
They approved it, but then you guys froze all of the stuff back to 2019 at the January 8th meeting. So, because I knew that it was being discussed, I never sent it off to get put in the handbook. So, but then again, most of that was regarding Tammy, because the only things that changed were regarding the amount of vacation time stayed the same. It's just the wording of when the year kicked in, and then that they could roll over sick days.
Okay, Jen can get with that and get with you later.
Right, I'm just saying, yeah.
Okay.
But the
But-
last time there was,
Because I
I was
just-
not involved at all. I didn't see it, I wasn't asked to do anything, so there was no legal review as part of the contents of it.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, you guys can move forward and make whatever changes that you want to, but I really don't think that, that's a document. I mean, they were doing motions and, amendments, but really it's, you have one document that needs to be fully replaced and voted upon by actually finishing the document. I don't think that ever happened.
Okay.
Well, one's 6,800, one's 2,800, so
23.
Ron?
what do you feel?
Ron, is the one guy, is that the Mitch that did it for us last time?
That's
The lower bid?
Yeah,
It's
it's not
not
higher
HR.
Yeah, HR is the one who did last year.
bid. Mitch is, there's a, yeah,
It's probably cheaper because they already have what they done last time, I would guess.
yeah, but they're the $6,800.
I thought they was 23.
No, Susie Bass with HR Unlimited Resources was 6,500.
That's Mitch, her boss.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Mitch and Susie Bass, they come up here together, they did our stuff. I think, Mike, sometimes these people just, when they work for a town, it seems like the bill just gets getting higher and higher because they think they're automatically gonna get the work. So, it's not all the time that way, but I think a lot of the time it is. That's why it seems like when you put these out and get a few estimates, there's quite a difference. Now, maybe the new place would do it all along or something, but.
I was just trying to see if that
But
was
they
the
both
guy
come to
before.
about southern Indiana, I think they drive, one's actually across the line in Kentucky, and one's down in Clinton, Indiana, which saves a little bit of time, so. But yeah, they should have all that information, like BF&S has all our information, every engineer should be able to do it cheaper than anybody else coming in,
Just
or
plug in the changes.
plug in the changes, yes.
If we're changing the employee handbook, I'd like to see vacation time based on hours of service rather than a calendar. So in other words, you work, after so many hours, say 80 hours of work or 120 or whatever, you accumulate,
X number of hours.
X number of hours, 1 to 3 hours or whatever it is. My company went through that recently, several years ago. I know a lot of other companies are doing that now. Instead of having sick days and vacation days, and these days and those days, they just lump everything under PTO time. And it's, you get so many PTO hours based on, your hours of service.
So if you wanted to take like a vacation in February, you wouldn't have any hours, or does it?
Well, say you start January 1st, okay, and so you want to take a vacation, maybe February is too soon, but March, maybe you, in those 3 months, maybe you have accumulated, not 1 week's worth of vacation, but you've accumulated a day and a half or something.
So it would be effective at the start time of employment. Because we had a discussion about
So you forget about
time
calendar.
earned after a certain date in the year.
Yeah, and this would take care of that. So when a new employee is hired, we ran into this, here a year or so ago, take any vacation time because he hadn't been there for 12 months, okay? Where if you do it by hours of service, you know, he could take, you know, presumably if it's 1 week of vacation for 1 year, after 6 months, he could take half a week. And if you lump our sick days in with that, you don't distinguish in between sick days and vacation days, just make it all PTO days, you know, it works out real good.
So don't give sick days or whatever, just based on hours, you get so many hours.
Yeah,
But,
personal time, that's it, no matter what you do with it.
you know, so you add up that, you know, week or 2 or 3 of vacation and these sick days that they earn every year and
Mhm.
put it all in a basket, divided by hours of work,
Mhm.
hours of service.
Might make sense on something like this for the council to pick a couple people to serve on a committee. We can work with whoever we hire outside of the public meeting and then make recommendations back to the full council.
Yeah, we used to have a work session and stuff. They would come up here. So do you want
What do you think?
to make a motion?
I'll have Jim spearhead with another council member, make recommendations to the board.
I'm assuming the one that costs less.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
If you guys wanna decide who you wanna go with today, then yeah, you need a motion to do that today.
Make a motion to go with the cheaper one.
You want to start, you want to get your changes before you hire somebody, don't you?
You need to go ahead and hire them and then talk to them and see what questions they got. They'll send out a questionnaire and stuff, and then we'll get it all. She can work with them and then get the other people involved, so. So a motion for strategic HR solutions at $2,388. Right?
Yep.
Need a second?
Second?
Got a motion and second to hire strategic HR solutions for $2,388, and have Jim sort of head that up. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carried. Reports of council members. Which side do you want?
Nothing.
So I wanted the board, I guess, to consider letting me take over, well, not take over. Mark Jones was to do it, but do the website. Michelle has a million other things she could be doing with her time, and I feel like that's something I could do.
This is the town.
Yeah, the Dayton
The
website.
official town website.
Yeah.
We always had, in the past, a long time ago, we had a council member and then a private person do it, and somebody that was pretty computer literate.
No disrespect,
Yeah.
Jim.
Sure.
I don't think it's appropriate for a board member to do the website. I think we're better off having a third-party vendor.
I don't mean, I just mean, you know, like, Michelle will contact Mark or whatever.
I've been doing the website on my own lately. More stuff. All the
You're just
stuff that I've
talking-
added up is with me.
You're just talking about keeping it updated.
Put the minutes on there, or,
Yeah.
Like Dave Laniger, when he was on the board, he used to, he did it for years, and then he got off the board, he did it. So.
Well, you guys had talked at the January 2nd meeting, I think, that you guys were making an official public document page or
This
website.
isn't what we're talking about.
Well, why would there be two then public document websites?
It doesn't matter, it's not what we're talking about, Michelle.
Well, I'll ask my attorney, because I think the
You
website
ask
is
your
the
attorney.
the
Ask
clerk
her.
treasurer's
It's not.
responsibility and my choice
No,
if
it's
I
not.
hand it out.
You got your own Facebook thing and all that, so.
Yeah,
I'm
This
not
is the town.
intending to put anything ridiculous on there.
Our council member always did it, the town clerk didn't do it, the town clerk,
I'm not
Never
the other
did,
town
you know.
clerks.
we know that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't quit when I'm being bullied, I stand up and do my job.
I think we ought to look into this and start, get with Mark and I would make a motion to have Jim look into it, start the process. And our site hasn't been updated very much, and it looks pretty deplorable to me, and try to get it under control. Then you can always work with Michelle on this together, but go ahead and spearhead it. So there's a motion on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay, motion passed.
I will say on documents and that sort of thing, there are host companies out there, Board Docs is one of them, that a lot of my customers use, and that's, seems to be a really good platform. And I mean, it goes all the way to the, you can make you can take it as far as you want, but, we can get all of our board packets electronically. They provide a format where the minutes are organized and easily accessible, and you can do searches and stuff like that. It all has a cost. I get that. There are
Board docs?
Board Docs.
Okay, Jim, you got anything else?
Nope.
Okay, Stan? I got a couple of things. We got a new flag hanging out here that's really nice, a silk woven one, and that was donated by Karen Howe. So I want to say thanks for that flag, and because the other ones, cheap ones we use, just get torn up right away. The three people that I appointed on the redevelopment committee were trying to pick people from both sides of the fence, were Mark Burmeister, Carla Snodgrass, and Steve Shugley. And Reed's got all the information on them, and they'll be at the next meeting. The board here at some time is going to, I think Kimberly will be that meeting, but they have to, the board has to, since she's quitting because she's running for judge and decided to quit, we've got to appoint somebody, so I don't know when we do that. Whenever we got to sometime. Okay, another thing is Reed's bill for 2019, it was, for this year, is $38. For January of this year, it was 38 hours. For January this year is 20 hours. So we even though it seems like we're doing a lot of talking and everything, we are cutting it down somewhat. I think the last thing is Henry Ott Insurance, when they called Bob Bryan, he was real nice. I did ask him about giving us an estimate. He asked if anything was wrong with the insurance. I said no, there wasn't anything wrong with it. We're just a new board that wants to get bids and costs on things to try to save a few dollars for our town. And he said okay, and he really didn't seem to be bothered or anything. And I said that's just the way it is. And he said there's a few changes on the buildings and stuff. Last year he said they made some changes that we were insuring stuff that wasn't, we didn't even have a building, we were insuring it. And I said, well, it was last year, it took you 2 years to catch the mistakes, so we must have been paying insurance for something. But anyway, actually anybody that's got any suggestions on, we want to probably get 3 estimates, so we'll go from there. And MBH, because they handled it before, we could check with Michaels, they handled it before. If anybody else got an idea, if any of these are illegal or I can't vote or something, that's fine. All I'm concerned about, I don't care who in the heck gets it, is that we take the lowest price and save some money.
Is that something that we would advertise in the paper for bids?
No, you just call them up and you get an estimate. So if anybody's got an idea that they'd like to throw in,
Is it something you have to take the lowest bid? Because I thought we talked about if the lowest bid didn't.
You don't have to take the lowest bid.
Not on something like that.
On anything.
You should, unless there's something compelling, they said, that's wrong. I forgot, Jason of Baker Tilly, Ashley had asked about that, and they're getting a new cost for, they're gonna send something tomorrow that I can give you guys for the annexation. Who's the guy for the annexation? And then Jason and Baker. One's the TIF, one's the annexation. They're gonna give us a completed cost to finish these. Okay, they've done some work, and I think Jason's just the TIF, right?
Yeah, Jason does it,
And I think that's pretty close, but the annex,
someone else in his firm that came here and talked about annexation. I can't
Yeah.
remember his name. Was it Greg and Jason work on the TIF, someone else.
yeah, I just got his email, I just forgot to write his name down. Anyway, he's going, Dean, annexation. And they'll send us what, you know, they'll start that annexation again. I told them the board wanted to, and so they'll give us a price. And I think that's all I got. Anybody from the audience got anything to say?
I'm getting out of your way.
Sorry. I'd just like to very briefly introduce myself. My name is Amy Kristen Preston. I'm with the Tippecanoe County Solid Waste Management District, which is a quasi-government entity. We collect recycling at the rural recycling drop-offs. You might have used the one in Stockwell or at East Tip Middle School. We also have recycling drop-off at the transfer station on 9th Street in Lafayette. And we have a household hazardous waste drop-off there as well for households to drop off cleaning chemicals, varnishes, pesticides, lots of things like that. I'm the recycling educator for the the solid waste district, so I'm happy to serve Dayton in any way at community festivals. If you're interested in organizing a community cleanup, any sort of public outreach, talks about recycling, composting, anything like that. I just wanted to introduce myself and say that I'm here to service you as well as part of Tippecanoe. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Every spring, we have dumpsters down here to collect stuff. Could they be some recycling bins for the hazardous stuff there at the time so that people can put that there?
I think we could probably arrange that.
That would
Yeah,
really
would you like
be-
my card to coordinate with
Yeah,
that?
or
Sure.
give it to Mark there, right behind you.
That'd be good.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
to meet you. Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience? Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion we adjourn.
Second.
Motion adjourned, carried, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting closed.
Yeah? Good.
You know what, people,
I know, it's up and down Sherry's, yeah.
people would rather.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize you guys have a dumpster event.
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of.
Oh, okay.